Hello world, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. You are watching the most exciting Zero to Hero series for absolute beginners to start your journey into building your own autonomous flying bots, that is also known as drones. All right guys, so in this lesson let's take a look at it from the brushless motors perspective. What kind of motors are used typically in the drones, right? Quadcopter, tricopter, how many, whatever the copter you can call it as, right? It can be four wings, it can be six wings, it can be eight wings. The motors are going to be brushless. That's a standard nomenclature, that's the standard motors used across the world, right? So practically all the latest drones in the market today use a brushless electric outrunner type. It's called outrunner type, all right, which is more efficient, more reliable, and silent. There is generally no sound in the brushless motors. It's pretty silent, kind of humming sound you can hear. That are basically if you take a brushed motors versus a brushless motors, you can differentiate very clearly the kind of noise it makes, right? So you can try it out, guys. So motor design is pretty much important. Selecting the right amount of types of motor what you want for your drone, depending upon the thrust, and depending upon the weight, depending upon the payload. There are a lot of factors which I'm going to talk about that in the later lessons. For now, let's stick to the brushless motors. So more efficient the motors, better the battery life, and it gives the pilot whatever you want, right, in terms of the power management and the battery management and stuff like that. So that plays a major role. So drone motor design is pretty exciting at this point of time. There are tons of R&D going on. Still it's improving. Every day there are new types of motors coming into the market, and you will get to know each of those as we go along. So once you get into the get a very basic understanding of how these motors works and kind of thing, then you guys are self sufficient. You can do a lot of R&D on your own and look at what's happening in the market, and try to do some research. So these are the types of motors we will be using in our kit for our build, right? So you need to examine the motors very regularly, guys. After you put it together, assemble it, try to fly it and kind of thing, well, you just cannot keep it aside. You need to very closely monitor what's happening with the motor. Make sure that they are very clean and free from dust. Do not allow any kind of dust particles to accumulate, and leave it as it is. Once you use it outdoor, once you get it back home, make sure that you dust it, clean it. With the mouth you can just blow it. Do not use the vacuum blower and kind of thing. That's going to be havoc, right? Use some soft brush to clean the dust, and very soft sponge or something like that. Make sure that it's dust free, right? Get to know how your drone sounds. So once you finish your assembling and start flying, make sure that you analyze what kind of noise it's creating, what kind of sound it's creating, each and every motor. Listen to the motors very carefully. These are some of the tips I want to give you guys, right? Most of the sound comes from the motors, right? If it doesn't sound right, you will definitely realize. Then examine, then make sure that you do some R&D on your motor, what's happening, right? Fly a couple of feet off the ground and very close to you. Do not just fly far away, and you may not be able to hear anything. Keep it very close by, and just about 1 2 meters above the ground. Keep it hovering, and then go close by, and you will know what's happening. You can hear, you can feel actually in each and every motors, right? Look to see if one of the motor is failing or something like that. It's not a bad option to have a spare motor. I suggest you should have at least two or three motors with you in hand. Okay, so that's very important. Now the way the motor works, the standard brushless motors works, right? So the internal working of a brushed and a brushless motors is almost the same. The principles are same. Both are based on electromagnetism, right? When the motor windings become energized, both the motors have coils, both brush and brushless, right? A temporary magnetic field is basically created that ripples in the opposite direction, and also it attracts. That's the way the positive and negative, the polarity works, and it rotates forward and backward, right, against the permanent magnet which resides, which is present inside your motor itself. If you see the drawing, you will understand this pretty clearly. So brushless motors have, significantly large, higher efficiency and performance, and a lower susceptibility to the mechanical wear than any of the brushed counterparts, any of the brushed motors. So that's a big advantage of the brushless motors used in drone technologies, in the flying robots, right? The brushless motors offer several other advantages. You need to know this, right? Including the higher torque or the weight ratio. So I am going to talk about the weight and the torque ratio in the upcoming lessons, what kind of weight and the mechanism and the calculation you need to put. For now, you need to understand how these motors are and what types of motors. In our lessons, in our kit build, we will be using the FPV drone motors, which is a standard kind of motors which comes along in the kit. Any kit you may either buy it from me or you may buy it from somebody else. These are the standard packages which comes today. All right, guys. So I will see you soon in the next video. We will get deep dive. All these lessons is going to be very short video, about 3 to 5 minutes, so that every components is broken down into multiple topics and you understand, you get a details about each and every component you are going to build. See you. Goodbye.